Narayana, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Narayana,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Narayana, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Narayana.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Mohana, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Mohana.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Mohana, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Mohana.
Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa,
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa.
Hare Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasade Gauranga Vrinda. Hare Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasade Gauranga Vrinda. Hare Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasade Gauranga Vrinda. Gopala Govinda Rama, Mohana, Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gauranga.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gauranga.
Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa.
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prestaya
Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prestaya
Hare Krishna.
Our situation now here, because because by nature we are eternally active. But if we are not able to understand our true transcendental essence, our true function, then we will be trying to achieve progress or success for what is beneficial for us according to our perception. And if it's based upon our own will, not in harmony with God's will, then it will be very hard for us. It's like we are under the control of God. We are eternally the loving servant of the Supreme Person. That is our position. So no matter what we do, we will always be serving. So with this science, we can understand now how we can direct this service attitude, this service offering. It should be with friendship with God by doing His will. And when we do that, then Lord Krishna will be the one to assist us. And He tells us here, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who knows this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. So it's very important to have association with those who are desiring to know and serve God. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So it's Krishna, when we make an effort to follow the foremost teaching of Lord Jesus Christ, to give our life, to serve the Father, to love the Father, it will be Krishna who will be guiding us. Because at the time we make this decision, especially when we come in contact with Lord Krishna through the disciplic succession, through parampara, through hearing from His confidential loving servants, especially the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, then we will be guided. He can direct and He can help us be guided towards progress. And what is that progress? It is about an eternal activity of the spirit soul, us, in harmony with loving service to the Supreme Person. Love and devotion. The teachings of Christianity. To love the Father. So, here, if we follow this process, we will be under the divine energy of God. But if we don't follow this process, we try to achieve success and progress, not based upon wisdom and the absolute truth about our eternal relationship with God, what will happen? We will fail. Just like, look closely. We want to progress. We want to succeed. But if we are in false bodily identification and try to succeed in that direction, to accumulate wealth, to be stable in this world, what will happen is that we will not succeed, because even though we get all these material things, we will still leave them behind. Not only that, we will not be able to experience loving reciprocation and surrender to God. Here in this world, you can see that what is very important is your love as a person. You want to experience friendship. You want to experience to offer your service. But here we're talking about our eternal, transcendental relationship with God. And if we can understand that through the process of receiving this information from God Himself, then we are in the right direction, and our progress to have this relationship of doing the will of God in harmony with His desire will be successful, because He will be the one to guide us. He tells us here clearly. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, happiness, internal happiness, enlightening one another and conversing about me. So that was, you can recall the separation of the gopis in Vrindavan. Their association are all the devotees in Vrindavan. Their associates, and they discuss the glories of God, the sweetness of their experience in seeing Lord Krishna, rendering loving service to Lord Krishna. And even though Lord Krishna leaves Vrindavan and goes to Dwarka, still in their remembrance, which is transcendental, because they are in focus, in loving remembrance of Lord Krishna. They're always with Lord Krishna. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So Lord Krishna makes an arrangement. He tells us His heart, His desire. He tells us, if one offers me with love and devotion, a little fruit, flower, water, I will accept it with love and devotion. So that is the key for friendship. The devotion and the qualification to understand this science is based upon friendship. Meaning all of us here, we are all eternally the loving servant of God. And our true transcendental nature is we are eternal and our activities should be in the transcendental realm wherein it is eternal. So when we are with wisdom and with knowledge of our true identity, we can now make this correct decision to progress in that realm that is transcendental and that is the relationship that is eternal in pleasing and doing the will of God. Because our true nature is that we are eternal and we should be engaging in our true transcendental position and function as eternally the loving servant of God. Because, in this world, when we talk about service, it gives us, we cringe, it's not tasteful to us because of our material disease. Because for so long, the most, the focal center of what we're doing is ourselves, us. What we want, our will. God is not there. He's simply there when we need something that we cannot get, that is beyond us. We go to God. We don't have this close relationship. So it's very important to hear from someone who's loving God. If you hear from someone, there's an example, it's like there's this deep, deep well, and there's 4 frogs there. 4 of them looking at one another, and they discuss. They never went out of that deep well. They've been there so long, they don't know what's outside. And they discuss, try to imagine, what's up there, And then their dimension is just that well. And they use their imperfect senses, which is limited. And because they're there, so limited, they're in illusion, and they're ignorant. And they discuss about wisdom as if they're very intelligent. And if we follow those frogs who are in that well, for example, you follow their process, then you cannot see what's outside of the well. Because those frogs are there for so long, they did not even came out of that well. So the process should be understood coming down. Because God is a person, you are a person, me is a person, I'm a person, I can make a choice. So God also can make a choice. So here He gives us this sweet love and care for us. Friendship. He tells us about our true transcendental nature, our true transcendental function. And those devotees that we read, they are in this transcendental world of devotional service, pure loving service. They're not touched by this world. They have no material desires. Their only desire is to serve and do the will of God. You say, wow, I'm going to do the will of God? I'm going to give up everything? That is the key for freedom. When we make this decision, I will do the will of God, then material life stops. Because from now, we will be engaging our life amiably in pleasing and doing everything for someone who is our eternal friend, who is transcendental to these miseries of this world, and what will be addressed is our longing for joy and happiness that is eternal. So when we are trying to play Lord, we are envious of God, then we will not be experiencing that joy because the center and focal point is our will. So we must become free from this false ego of trying to imitate and do our own will. Our will should be the pleasure of God, the pleasure of our Father, the pleasure of our friend. That relationship. When we can make a stand, I'm gonna do what is pleasing to you. Just simply focusing my life. I make a stand, no matter what. When we come in contact with the spiritual master tells us, gives us this teaching, and he tells us, chant the holy names, surrender to Krsna. For so long, we've been so contaminated by material energy, and we've been serving our senses for so long. So it's like a grind, it's hard. But when we understand with wisdom our true nature, when we experience this loving reciprocation of doing the will of God, we enter that world. That will give us real, eternal, transcendental happiness. For so long, we're so in illusion to find happiness in this world, trying to do our own will, and progress is about control and achieving a stable situation in this world. But we will never succeed because everything is temporary. We must become free from this enviousness, from this false lordship, imitating God. And Krishna tells us, you're not alone when you do that. He tells us, to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. It is God's pleasure to see us happy. It is God's pleasure to see and receive our surrender and loving devotion of our life, our heart. It is a relationship of rendering loving service in surrender and in friendship. Krishna becomes my friend. Krishna becomes my shelter. Out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So here, we have this criteria that will bring us to success, that we can succeed doing the will of God. His promise. We must have this faith and the promise that He tells us we can surrender our life, our heart. And through His pastimes, through His coming here, He proves He'll protect His devotee. He declares, my loving servant will always be protected. So, that is the importance of following someone who is a pure loving servant of God, the spiritual master. If you follow those individuals who have material consideration, who are like those frogs inside the well, who are blind, even though they are not blind. They are blind because they cannot see life. They are blind because they see only matter. And matter cannot, understand. With the use of our sense perception, we cannot pierce through what is beyond the senses, beyond matter. But because God is a person, He can come and descend. So what are those material desires that we see in ourselves that is an impediment in surrendering to God? Surrendering our life to someone who loves us eternally, who accompanies us eternally, who gives us knowledge, who gives us vision, who's always there waiting. What are those impediments? Those material desires and material disease that has been contaminating us. It is embedded in our heart. It has covered us. That even though when we come in the association of devotees and when we hear the spiritual master speaks, we still have this itching to have followers. To have followers. We want more material things. We want beauty. But in ignorance, we are not seeing what is real beauty. It is the spirit soul who is sparkling, who is really beautiful, and the source, the supreme person, the all-attractive supreme person. Even though we are now in a situation wherein, that's why it's very important to be with wisdom and to be guided by the spiritual master, to enter that relationship of loving service. So sometimes, even we come in contact with our spiritual master, and he comes in with so many disciples. He take this responsibility to take care and guide them. That's why when Lord Chaitanya prays, "Oh my Lord, I have no desire to have any numbers of followers of mine." But deeper than that is that when we are in association, especially, when we come in contact with the spiritual master, because sometimes we see our Gurudev, and he has a lot of God brothers, and our spiritual master, who is not different from Lord Krishna, we can offer our heart, our life to him. That's what those disciples did, and they're guided. And someone who is not a Sakta Vishavatar, not a Mahabhagavat, he has desire for followers. But he also has a spiritual master. What he does is he interferes with the relationship of the disciple and students of the bona fide spiritual master and get in the middle to guide them. He wants followers. There's desire to have followers. And Lord Chaitanya has no desire for followers. His only desire that we are able to be sheltered with that love of Lord Krishna. So this person interferes. So what this person should do, go out and get people to chant the holy names. Go out and have followers, because you are interfering with the relationship of the disciples and students of Srila Prabhupada. And you get in the middle and try to guide them. They have already a guide. Krishna, the spiritual master. You're interfering with their relationship. If you really you want to have followers, you have this, you think that you're so advanced that you want to save people, to bring them to Krishna, then go out, get people to canvas people, because you're light, you're so, you can give them Krishna. You need someone to assist you. So go there, instead of trying to interfere and get along the way of those who are relating to the spiritual master. Because for me, as a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, I only listen to Srila Prabhupada. And when individuals come, because of our spiritual master's guidance, I don't interfere with their relationship with the spiritual master. Association means glorifying this friendship with the Supreme Person. And the spiritual master who takes responsibility of the disciples' life and their students, he takes that responsibility. So instead of trying to be there with all these ready-made followers and just jump there, and I will guide you. That is it's not, it's really unbecoming, because you're interfering with someone. It's like someone is married to someone. This lady is married to the husband, and you interfere. You get along the way. So this desire, this material consideration to have followers, we must become free from that. If a person cannot save someone from death, he should not take disciples. The criteria is very high. So that's why the criteria for accepting a bona fide spiritual master as advised by Saint Prabhupada, that he should not have material consideration. He must be transcendental to material consideration. The desire to play Lord, the desire to be Guru, to be there, guiding people. The disciple listens to the spiritual master. The student listens to the spiritual master. And the association that they have, it's simply the glorification of God's glories, about God's love for us, and directing them toward the direction our dear spiritual master is guiding us, centered around the Sankirtan movement. It's a relationship with Lord Krsna and the spiritual master. So we should be very careful. If we follow someone who's in this deep well, like those four prags, ascending method, and one qualification of Lord Krsna and the spiritual master, they have the potency to enlighten us within. Because the spiritual master is the Lord from the outside. Spiritual master is not a cheap position or a cheap thing. Because the spiritual master coming from the disciplic succession, the descending method, it's coming from God. It's simply passing on the same science, the same teaching. Like there's this tree, the apple that comes down through different branches, is still the same apple that we receive. Same. And to enter that world of confidentiality about relationship, it must be understood from a confidential, loving servant of God. Just like, for example, in this world, like for example, I saw this young lady and, I want to be friends with that lady, and that lady is so much, they're very close with the family, they're bonded together, It means that if I marry that lady, it seems that I will be marrying the whole family because I have to relate to the whole family. Yeah? I must know what's happening there. I must know how to enter that world of relationship with the family. So it's also like that in spiritual life. But dear, it's a word of loving relationship. And it is about respect. It's about humbleness. It's about not interfering with the service of the devotee, of the student, in relationship of doing what is pleasing to Lord Krishna. We should be careful whom we should follow. And those individuals who are in that mode of wanting followers, ready-made disciples, ready-made students, who just jump there and guide them, why not follow what your spiritual master have told you? Be Guru and go out and canvass and give the holy names. And if there's a place there where everybody is connected with the confidential loving servant of God, then be humble enough not to interfere with the guidance and how the spiritual master is guiding them, because he's taking that responsibility. He loves them, he protects them, with wisdom and knowledge. And it's a relationship with Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna, Jesus Christ tells us, if you reject me, the Father who sent me will reject you. It's about relationship. So the spiritual master is a confidential, loving servant, a maid servant of Radha and Krishna, a resident of the spiritual world. He's serving Krishna, doing his work, canvassing, connecting all his individuals through his guidance, through his mercy, to be in this amiable, transcendental relationship with the Supreme Person. And we interfere. So the advice to these people, please, just go out there because you're light, you're really cognizant, you can purify others. The spiritual master is not lacking. He's complete. He doesn't need you. So please don't interfere with the relationship of the disciple following the instruction of the spiritual master. So the association of the disciple and students of the spiritual master with Lord Krishna is simply the glorification of Lord Krishna in purity, in love, in devotion. So immediately when a person comes in association with the devotees and he has this inkling, itching in his desire to have followers, So it means we should be aware of that. Because the blind cannot lead the blind. The spiritual master is not different from God. So that's the criteria. So us also, we make this decision, whom we will listen. So who gives us vision? Who gives us? Krishna tells us, because you're my friend, you are qualified. Because you're eternally the loving child of God. You're all, in a truest sense, devotees of God. But you have forgotten. Now, we must establish this friendship. What has been lost is this friendship. And now, because He comes here, He gives us this guidance. He embraces us. And how do He embrace us? By introducing His confidential loving servant to us. He gives the qualification of someone who is qualified. Arjuna, his best friend. And our spiritual master is the devotee, the friend of Krishna, Arjuna. Follow him. And Krishna assures us, tells us, out of compassion for them, you're not alone. When you offer your life to God, you make a decision, you're thinking, if I'm going to give everything here, what do I have? No. You have everything. Material life is finished. Out of compassion for them, I am dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness of ignorance. He gives you guidance. He embraces you. And He tells us this. He assures us. We're looking for a friend who will always be there, who is self-sufficient, who is in control, the source of everything, that if I lean upon Him, He will never break my heart. He will never bring me to suffering. And that is Krishna, sweet Krishna. But if we use this descending method, the avenue that we follow, and the venue, is the mind, which is so contaminated with material desires. What we should follow is the descending process coming from God through oral reception and goes into our ear as a funnel, enters our heart. God embraces us in friendship. God reveals Himself to us because He's a person. He knows your heart. So Lord Krishna assures us, if you surrender to me, I'll protect you. Abandon all varieties of religion. Just surrender to me and I'll protect you. That even though we are very sinful. We are drowned in this ocean of misery, separated from Him. If we just simply follow this path of friendship, of devotion, then the process itself will purify us, will connect our love. That's why we engage in the process of devotional service in practice. The 9th process, it begins with hearing, listening, hearing, chanting the glories of God, remembering God, worshiping God, offering obeisances. We offer our life. That is the teaching of Christianity, and that is our true eternal world, our eternal function and activities. That is what is real progress, because that is eternal. Longing to serve someone, longing to have friendship, longing to have joy, it is the quality that is inseparable from us. But in ignorance, we try to find that in this temporary material world with this body. We must become free from this material conditioning of falsely identifying ourselves as the body. Then when we understand that, we can now be very sure and be very safe through hearing from God Himself where progress is. And what is that progress? Relationship with God. It's not about knowing everything in this material world. People like to be so focused. To be so focused about, how about the ocean of milk? How about Garbo the Kasai Vishnu? How about Lord Brahma where is the spirit, the heavenly planet? The mind has so many questions. Pop. But we have forgotten the source and what is inseparable from us. The longing for love, the longing for joy. And if we have understood clearly this transcendental science of our eternality, then we can have this foundation. I can give my life to God because it belongs to Him. That is my eternal world. Just like the residents of Vrindavan, the gopis, like Arjuna, like Lord Jesus Christ. So many saintly persons, saintly kings succeeded because they were guided and have understood the science and they have succeeded. So all of us here can succeed. You can know God. You can love God. We can be situated in knowing and understanding, in engaging in loving reciprocation with God. That will give us happiness if we simply follow this process, how to love God. So it's up to you where you will give your life, your heart, your whole being, what progress, your idea of progress is. Will we be like will we be like the ostrich that when there's problem, the bad wolf is there, bad death, disease and knowledge, and wow, the tsunami and every earthquake, there's problem. What do the ostrich do? Just burrow his head under the ground and try to forget, does not exist. So, he does not solve the problem. You cannot negate the problem because the problem will be there. It's like if you have this, a nail stuck on your soul, and it's there, You're walking and it gives you pain. And he said, does not exist. But wherever you go, while you're in this body, you experience that pain. So while you're in this body, you experience all this pain. Birth, death, disease, and knowledge. Heat and cold. So when you understand the science, you begin to see that what you perceive with your senses are all temporary. Happiness just comes. Sadness comes. Misery comes. But you'll be the witness. You'll be the person who's watching all of this. And because you are living, you can experience those sensations because the body has sensation. But when you leave this body, the body has no more sensation. So we are encumbered in this body. We are dominated by material nature to experience all the fruits of our action, the reaction of our actions, because we are not the controller. What will happen? Everything that we do, every action we do has a corresponding reaction. This is a world that there are rules and there is the law of karma, good or bad. You can see we're under the laws. So how to enter that world? To become free from that? Simply surrender to Lord Krishna. It's up to Him. Not a blade of grass moves without the knowledge of God because He's the supreme controller. When we talk about God, the idea of God is someone who's very powerful, but they never discuss about someone who is our eternal loving Father, our eternal friend, who has unconditional love for us. That even though we deny Him, we steal what belongs to Him. You know, we exploit, we use this world, we try to imitate Him. You know, there's this story of the prodigal son. It's just put mildly, you know. The eldest son, he decides, I want to go out, you know. Father, give me all the things that I should inherit now so I can do my will. Yeah? So, the father loves him so much, okay? Gives you everything. Just like us. We want to do our own will. We want to imitate God. Krishna gives us this field of activity, this body. So we can try to manipulate. Okay, you go. Try. Attempted lordship. Away from my care and love. But he stands there waiting. And the son, he goes out. He misuses all he misuses all what is being given to him. Enjoy. Just like now, you have this opportunity while traveling in this world, this body. What will you do with this vehicle? The human form of life that you have now is very important because with this human form of life, you can make a decision. You have this intelligence to ask this question, why am I here? What is love? Where is real shelter? We are higher than the animals because we have this human form. The animals, what do? Eat, sleep, mate, and depend. Eat, work hard, eat. Fight, depend, they're tired, Have sex, sleep. Live like an animal. But that is not our true world. We're given by Krishna this wealth. Okay, you go, Krishna gives you. Okay, play Lord. Just like this prodigal son who goes out and misuses everything. Now he's alone, serving all this cruel master, taking care of pigs, taking care of, animals there, cleaning them, and he's given food. And when he sees the food given to him, and he sees the food that he eats is the food that he eats when he was with his father, even the animals, is more palatable than what he's eating now. And he felt so much pain and suffering that he's not protected by the shelter of his father. So the story goes that he went back to the father. And when he went back to the father, he's feeling, I have done something, I have offended, I denied my father, I did not follow his will, no, I'm a bad son. But when he came there in humbleness, when he came, just from the outside, when the father saw him, the father ran, embraced him. That is a real friend. Our Father Krishna. He's always with us. But we are not able for so long experiencing this care, this love, because we are not in this loving devotion, this friendship with God. That should be that can be understood and clearly realized when we come in contact with someone who has unconditional love for us. Our Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, Jagad Guru. The spiritual master is our conditional friend. Either you love him, you serve him, he loves you. He's your well-wisher. God is our well-wisher. So definitely, the bona fide spiritual master is our well-wisher. All of you here, all of us, we came here by force. We are like the prodigal son who decided to get out of that world of the father. And he gives us everything. No? But he loves us. His love is eternal, unconditional. Also us, by nature, we want to serve and love. But now, when we make this decision to do our own will, whom do we love? Ourselves. Our dominion, our will is all about us. So, through the process that will purify us from this material contamination, we begin to see the truth. of our what is really sweet, what is joyful, and what is real progress is to be eternally engaged with my eternal Father, my eternal friend in loving service. And even though I'm not, I'm Paul par short, don't ever think you should be perfect. Because when you offer to Krishna, Krishna doesn't need anything that we offer to God. God has everything. It belongs to Him. But what is accepted is the devotion, the sacrifice, the austerity. I'm gonna offer this to you. Just like, this child, very small child. She knows it's mommy's birthday, but she doesn't have work. All she got to do is the plating they do there every day. They make mud pie. I'm gonna make mud pie for my mommy. She gets this. She gets this mud, form it into a cake. She gets flowers and put and make believe. This stick is a candle. And goes to mama. Mommy, happy birthday, and embrace the mama. The mother who loves her, she sees that cake. It's made of mud. But, oh, nice cake, embrace the child. It is the intention of the child, the heart offering. So when you surrender to God, it is about, when you bow down, you get connected with God. Because bowing down means you feel helpless. Because nobody wants to bow down, Who wanna bow down, diba? Who wanna bow down their head? But because you're feeling, I can bow down my life, bowing down your head in the beginning, but in the end, that process is so purifying that you're now giving your whole life, bowing down because you're not protecting yourself. In this world, you see taekwondo fight, even karate fight, they come together. Brother, when they bow down, they bow down. Even the boxers, they bow. But what do? They look at the eyes, the whole body of the opponent. Because if you close your eyes, you have no defense. What if he bucks you or kick you immediately? You're finished. But with God, no fear, because He will never hurt you. He loves you. That when you bow down unto Him, you're allowing Him to put His feet on your head, which is purifying. Just like Kaliya, the enemy of Lord Krishna, who disturbed the pastimes in Vrindavan. So what did Krishna do? He danced on the head of Kaliya. He's so fortunate that Lord Krishna danced on his head. He got purified. All the sinful reaction from his heart, he spilled blood, and he was able to see his situation. And he pleads, my Lord, please protect me. I surrender my life. So when we come to the temple of God, to the presence of God, we don't want to bow, we don't want to offer our life. So bowing down means we're offering our life to God. It is not a ritual that you just bow down. It is the heart's desire. My Lord, please protect me. Because we understand that Krishna will never hurt me. He will always be taking shelter. I can always take shelter of His lotus feet through His instruction and through the guidance of His confidential loving friend. Unconditional life. That's why the spiritual master is not cheap. He's the Lord from the outside. All of us here, the reason we listen to the teachings of the instructing spiritual master. And how do we confirm if it's really God telling us? We pray to the Lord within the heart. And how do we confirm if it's really the Lord within the heart? We must have the Lord from the outside. And the Lord from the outside is the spiritual master, who is the representative of God. We're very safe. So don't follow those frogs in the well. Because you will not be progressive. You'll always be in darkness. You understand? You must follow someone who has no material consideration. And someone who has no material consideration is the prayer of Lord Chaitanya, the consciousness of the spiritual master. Oh my Lord, I have no desire to enjoy beautiful women. As exemplified by the life of Haridas Thakur, the prostitute came. She's so beautiful, you know. But he is seeing the person. He cares for the person. He stayed and purify the person's heart. That is the potency of the representative of God, because he can give you Krishna. He can establish that connection and teaches us the friendship, learn how to be friend with Lord Krishna. I have no desire to enjoy to have numbers of followers of mine. I have no desire to enjoy material wealth. My only desire to be engaged in your loving service, life after life. He's not even talking about salvation, makaluwas, simply serving God. Because the teachings of Jesus, he tells us, the kingdom of God is in your heart. This body is a temple of God, because this material body is the energy of God. So when we're given this human form of life, we must be, if we're with wisdom, we can use this to connect ourselves with God. Instead of using this material body, this field of activity, try to manipulate and control it, false lordship, that will separate us, will make us hard, will experience this cruelty and suffering of this world. We now can use this body to experience friendship with God and offer everything to God. And that is the process of devotional service, because Krishna accepts devotion, our love. So you don't need to show perfection, but rather follow this path. That God has unconditional love for us. Unconditional. He's our eternal friend. Just like the father who gives his son everything and he misuses it. He comes back as a pauper, very poor, nothing, but he wants shelter, he wants love. The father embraces him. So if you make one step towards God, towards Krishna, he makes 100 steps towards you. That's why he tells us, he will take away the ignorance. He will take out all the hindrance, because that is his will. His will is surrender unto me, love me, be in harmony, in loving surrender, and I'll protect you. We should be protected with that love and not misuse what is inseparable from us. Is it clear to you? Is there any question? So you people ask questions. I'm spiritual, what is my form? You cannot see air, you cannot see electricity, you cannot see heat. How can you see? It begins first with understanding your true transcendental nature, and what is your relationship with God. That will be your spiritual form. Just like all the residents of Vrindavan, the spiritual world, if your relationship with Krishna is you want a child, your relationship with Krishna, you're in this stage of pure devotion, you relate to Krishna in intimacy, Krishna is your child, then you're given that opportunity to be the mother of Krishna. You want friendship? You're really inclined to have this friendship in purity, and you have perfected, you're in harmony in this pure loving devotion. That it means your spiritual body in the spiritual world, now your true spiritual body is a friend of Krishna. And it depends upon Krishna and a personal experience from you, all of you. Because Krishna's body is eternal. We are all spiritual, part and parcel of Krishna. So Krishna has form, and he is manifested here. That's why when Krishna tells Arjuna, many birds have... Arjuna asks him, how can I know that you have instructed this science to the sun god? He's senior from you. And Lord Krishna tells him, many, many births have passed. All of them I can remember, but you cannot. Just like now, if you leave this body, no, you leave this body now, you cannot remember the past anymore. For example, it's stated, a certain activity leads to a certain consciousness. Whatever state of mind you remember at the time of death, what is your focus, what is your devotion, that state you will attain. For example, you're so for this person who's thinking, oh, America, you know, she goes out, you know, try to relate to those white meat or foreign bodies in white. She's always thinking her meditation, you know. If she comes back after death, what her meditation, she will be awarded by material nature to have that corresponding body, provided that she will be born in a human form. Whatever state of mind or consciousness you have at the time of death, that state you will attain. There are more than 8,400,000 species of life, from the demigods to the human beings, so many. But that should not be our focus. Our focus is our relationship with God. The mind is so strong, you know, always questioning. Maya, illusion, you call the devil, but actually it's illusion. Maya, bombarding you with so many questions. Question with question with question with question. And your answer is with question. And you go crazy. So that is the importance of having someone guided by God, because you only listen to one person, God. You won't listen to the mind, to the desire. You're protected. So everything that that Krishna relates to us is all about His care and compassion and love, to embrace us with love. But we should see it with our spiritual eye, not this eye. We should see it with purified intelligence. Is it clear to you? You have any question? You want to ask? You have question? It's not, So anyway, let's discuss more about this. But there is a saying, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. If you want to taste what love is, you must taste it. You must eat it. You know, the pudding. Or if, for example, I come here telling you, you know, this glass is made out, what's inside this glass is organic honey coming from the United States of California, brought by my friend. And there's this lid cover. And I show it to you. It's color yellow, you know. What's that? And everybody look outside. Try to lick the jar. You should open the jar and taste the organic honey. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Look at here, all of you are all struggling, trying to venture, to gain something. Then you ask, is it real progress? Is it eternal? Will it really benefit me? Is it real protection? Then that is up to you to analyze and see and check and make the decision. That is the freedom that God is giving us. So we should not blame God for what is ever happening to us, because whatever we do, we're responsible for our action. But He loves us, even though we do things that will separate us from Him. He's always there waiting. So Haribol Namaste. Thank you very much.
Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prastayate.
Siddhaswarupananda, Paramahamsa namine, Gora Karuna Swarupaya, Radha Krishna Prastayate.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Ati Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadara, Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Ati Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadara, Shri Vasudeva Bhakta Vrinda.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Krishna.
Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Madana Mohana.
Hari Bol Krishna,
Gopala Govinda Rama,
Hari Bol Krishna.
Madana Mohana.
Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev,
Bol Krishna,
Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada.
Hari Bol Krishna,
Jaya Jaya Gurudev,
Hari Bol Krishna,
Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa.
Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa. Jaya Jaya Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prestayate.
Namo Siddhaswarupananda